Welcome into our Countdown to Tip-Off interview series. Today I'm visiting with Kelly Green, head coach of Southeastern Oklahoma State men's basketball. And, Coach, let's just briefly recap last year. Let's talk about that season before we move on. As I've asked every coach, what did you take away from last year and just a wild and wacky up-and-down year? I mean, you guys even, I think, had a game canceled because of a power outage, I think maybe. Is that right? I mean, you had everything last year.
Michael, I learned three things last year. One, that whenever there's a real bad winter storm in Oklahoma, specifically Southeast Oklahoma, that your swimming pool can freeze over. And I did learn that you can buy this RV antifreeze and you put it in a bottle and you put it in the skimmer baskets and it prevents your pumps from freezing. So I learned that.
Okay.
I learned that somebody at Southeastern needs to be in charge of making sure the plug-in goes in so that our arena lights and electricity will come on.
Okay, that's good.
I learned those two things. And then the third thing had to do with COVID. I learned that when you're in the conference tournament and if your team is down by more than 25 points with 7 minutes to go, and it's a COVID season, that the coach automatically gets ejected from the game.
Okay. All right. Well, I knew you would have a more unique perspective perhaps than some of the other coaches, but we have heard some unique stories and scenarios, and I can't wait for you to write a book one day about all those things.
It'll be a very, very boring book, I'm sure.
All right. Well, let's put that in the rearview mirror then. Let's talk about the team that you've got on the floor this year. And a lot of it starts with Adam Dworsky, of course, and Kellen Manick. And those two guys are a part of the big group you had a couple of years ago, and they're still here. So talk about them, maybe what it's been like so far and what some of the expectations are for those two guys.
Well, we're very fortunate to have Adam Dworsky back. This will be his fifth year. And, what's kind of amazing, whenever he came in as a freshman, we had contemplated redshirting him. So had we redshirted him, I guess he'd be a junior now, but we still get the benefit of having him for 5 years. And needless to say, whenever you have your point guard back, who's been your starting point guard for a lot of years, then that's a positive. We've got Kellen Manick back. He's coming off a foot injury last year that happened the very first game of the year, and he kind of fought throughout the season, and he's back. And then we've got Bobby Johnson, who from Atoka, who Bobby's been here as long as I have, and he's coming off a couple of medical redshirt years. He's coming off of the give back year last year, and he's returning as well. So we've got a nice group of, I don't know what everybody I've heard, I guess redshirt graduates, seniors, super whatevers. And so we've got a nice group of guys there back.
Like I told some other coaches, whoever came up with the term redshirt freshman, we need them to come up with a new term that we can all follow, because everybody's calling it something different. But yeah,
I heard one of your things. I believe it was with Mark Downey, and I do have a question. His guy, I guess, was freshman of the year. Can you get freshman of the year 2 times in a row?
Well, I will do some investigating. I'll talk to the people in charge. I guess you could. We had a handful of situations occur in the last decade where a guy had a senior year and then he did come back for whatever reason, some eligibility things, and he got a second senior day. So sure, maybe we can have another freshman of the year. I'll look into that for you, Coach.
Okay.
All right. So you mentioned a couple other returners there, and I want to talk about new players, who all you had to replace and what you were looking for in the recruiting process. Let's hit on that a little bit.
Well, I mean, we were fortunate. We got a couple of Division II transfers. One from here in Oklahoma that played at Rogers State the last couple of years, Jet Sternberger, and we think he's an outstanding addition to our group. He's a guy we recruited a couple of years ago and came in runner-up. But we're very, very fortunate to have him, and he seems to be fitting in very well with the rest of our guys. And then we've got another Division II transfer that played at, I believe it's Davis and Elkins, something like that, out in West Virginia. And who's also coming in as a sophomore that played a few minutes out there. And then, we've got a bunch of freshmen, and we've got RJ Weeks, he's kind of an amazing story. With these older guys, it's interesting that they are coming back as whatever we're calling them as seniors. But RJ Weeks redshirted his freshman year, played for us last year. And now this will be his third year here to be a freshman.
Yeah.
And he gets to continue to carry the bags on and off the bus and some things like that. But we're pleased to have RJ back with us. And those guys are RJ played a lot of minutes for us, got a lot of experience last year. So we think we've got a good group there. And then we've got a lot of freshmen. And with freshmen, it's hard to say. I mean, one day they start looking like they've got it. The next day they look like they're playing lacrosse. And so, it's hard to really say anything one way or the other about them. But we do like the group that we've got, and we're hopeful. Hope springs eternal this time of year. We're all hopeful for them.
Lacrosse is becoming kind of popular, Coach.
That's what out here at the Durant Southeastern football stadium, which well.
Yep.
I think in the spring I've seen, or maybe in the winter, they're out there with sticks and nets and helmets throwing the ball around.
All right, I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit for my next question. So This goes all the way back to your very first season at Southeastern. As some know, I was the play-by-play announcer for the team.
Okay.
Going into the conference tournament, I asked you a question on a pregame segment, and I said to you, Coach, you may have to play 3 games over 3 days. How important is it going to be for you to have a bench that you can go to? And you responded to me with, I don't need a bench. I just need 5 players that can play. But I want to ask you that question now 9 years later and see if I get the same answer. Because I feel like going into the beginning of a year, this league is so deep. We talk a lot about – there go my lights in the classroom. Hold on a second. Interrupted my question.
All right.
We talk a lot about the starters, those returning players, the guys that make the all-GAC accolades. But in this league that is pretty deep now, how important is it for you to have a bench, guys that you can turn to throughout the long course of a season? Because last year we didn't get that long season. It's been a while. Mm-hmm. So long question. What do you say to that?
I would really say the same thing, Michael. And I can reference that by look at Northwest Missouri. They're 97-3 in their last 3 years. They've won 3 out of the last 4 or 5 national championships. They win the national championship this past year. They basically played 6 guys, and there's a timeout every 4 minutes.
Okay.
And if you can stay healthy, 6, 7 guys is about all you need.
Yeah.
Do you want a few more? I think sometimes you do, but sometimes if you have too many guys and it's like, who do I play? Who do I put in? This guy needs more minutes. This guy needs, to expand his game. And so I'm going to stick with what I said, 11 years ago. I think that if you've got the right mix of people, you don't need that many players.
All right. Well, I like the answer. Let's just briefly talk about your schedule. I know that you're not having to go up north like some of the other schools, but you are playing some schools from the north and Minnesota State.
Well, we're going north. Everything's north of us.
Well, we're going to Shawnee.
Yeah, we're going to Shawnee. It's a long 2-hour drive north.
Just kind of recap some of your non-conference games before conference play starts and what your expectations are there.
Well, I don't really have any expectations because I'm not real certain about the teams we're playing. I know we're playing, I believe, Minnesota Moorhead and Wayne State. And, looking at their records from last year, I think they were both very solid teams, solid programs. And I have no idea where they're picked in their league. We are going up north again to Springfield, Missouri, and we're going to play Drury. I am very familiar with Drury back whenever I was in college even. And so I know of the reputation of their program. I'm sure they're going to be very, very difficult to compete with. And then Missouri S&T, we played them a few years ago. They now have a new coach. He's been there a couple of years ago by the name of Bill Walker, who I knew back when I was coaching in junior college. So of those people, and then I don't know if we lucked into it or it was a good deal or a bad deal or what, but Seattle Pacific, who's a power out in the Northwest, called us and said they wanted to play. And and they're down here and they're coming down to play Commerce. And I haven't still figured out quite why they're coming down, but they're coming down to play Commerce, and they had an open date, and it just so happened to coincide with us having an open date. So I know they're going to be very good. The reputation precedes itself. They've been very, very strong. Years ago, whenever I was coaching out in New Mexico, we played them a couple of times, and it wasn't much fun. And so I'm sure they're going to be a very, very strong opponent that's going to come in here in mid-December.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate the time today. I look forward to catching up with you during the year and finding out how your pool is doing.
Well, so far so good. Insurance covered some of the damages we had, so we're very, very fortunate there. I know we're more fortunate than a lot of people.
Yep. All right. Thank you for the time, Coach.
Absolutely, Michael. Appreciate it.